I would dedicate to Hachi, Khachadur and Hovannes Binityan, because they were two people who used to always attend these functions and speak, and they've also participated as speakers. Last year we dedicated the series to Hovannes Kundarjan, who was our chairman for many years and a regular attendee, someone who used to regularly attend and speak during the Q&As, and this year I want to dedicate it to Khachadur and Hovannes, who sadly passed away in 2019. Okay, so that's the formality over. So yeah, please do this to me again. Now, Andre. So I'm extremely pleased that Andre agreed to come today and show his film and take part in the Q&A. So I'm not going to do any other introductions. I'll just deal with it.
Well, hi. Thank you for coming. It's pretty cold outside. My documentary film is about peace, and I hope the message of peace will bring some warmth today on such a cold day. I want to thank Misak and Hayashen for this opportunity. I really wanted to screen this film for the Armenian audience because we've done a screening in SOAS where they were mostly students from different countries. So this is a documentary film, so I'm not going to talk about it. The film tells its own story. It's in 3 languages: Armenian, Turkish, and English. Most of it is in Armenian, about 20-30% is Turkish and 10% in English. So it's all subtitled. So if you want to read the subtitles, you can come and sit closer to the screen. The other thing I want to mention is that this film was shot in what today we call Old Armenia, because as most of you know, there's been a revolution in Armenia almost 2 years ago. And the subject of dialogue between Armenia and Turkey was much more taboo just a few years ago. The new government is more for dialogue between nations. So please bear that in mind, because there are some subjects we talk about in the film that, you know, refers to Old Armenia. You have pens and papers, so you can take notes, and we will have a Q&A at the end. Enjoy the film. Thank you.
Before we also start, I just want to inform you that we've got two of the other sessions are about Armenians in Turkey and Armenian-Turkish relations, but from very different perspectives, and I hope you will come and listen to those two other talks as well, because I think it will give you a much more fuller picture of, will be an additional thing to what Andre is trying to convey here. So I will do so. So, who wants to say a few words? Who's got a question for Andre? Yes, go on. Please come to the front.
May I congratulate you with a wonderful project and a beautiful song, of course.
Thanks.
I agree with what you are projecting there, which is the people, as the ambassador, the American ambassador said, the people-to-people communication and association, whether through music or through culture, that is to be welcomed. And I hope, first of all, that one day that will also lead to a political solution between our nations. You told me earlier that this film was made about 5 years ago. So can you tell us what has taken place since, and whether you have any other projects now or in the future? And secondly, is this film available somewhere? Maybe on the YouTube or on your website? I don't know.
So the film is not available yet. When we released it, it was quite controversial when we had our screening in Yerevan and in LA. The screenings went really well, but there was some backlash from some conservatives. One of whom you will probably know, Shushan Petrosyan, had asked people to boycott this concert, which was sold out. Of course, 3 years after this concert took place, people rejected Shushan Petrosyan. She's not a member of parliament anymore, and she can't even sing anymore because people reject her concerts. So most people were for this kind of thing, but we decided to do private screenings before initiating the public viewing. Actually, when you say what's going on now in Armenia, I would like to show you an example which we've taken from Armenian news. There's a Turkish guy in Armenia who studies. He could have chosen his international school from many different countries, but he chose to study in Armenia and do exchange program. And it's a very, like a minute thing. Yeah, so the new Armenia, the new government is for dialogue. Especially, I mean, I'm sure you've seen a press conference yesterday with Azerbaijan's leader, and I think the new Prime Minister did a great job. Yeah, so, yeah.
A staggering project and things that you've done and been involved with. So taking it way back, when I remember the beginning of your journey, did you have some preconceived ideas or concerns about tensions that might arise with you participating in the project?
Of course, because there are conservatives in any country. There are hardliners in any country. To be very honest, we got death threats one night before the concert. So we had secret police in the crowd, and we locked both sideways towards the stage. But, you know, I mean, we had to be cautious, but I was expecting that. I mean, you always find this kind of hardliners and conservatives in any country, so I was ready for that kind of criticism from some people, but that's why I made this documentary. If if this subject wasn't such a taboo, I would probably, there wouldn't be the need to do something like this.
And was it the same with the Turkish musicians? And the saying that they were both sides were about going to the other.
Well, the funny thing is, two of the musicians, when we were traveling to Armenia, basically you pay $25 and you get the visa. When we got to the border, the Georgian agent said 2 of them cannot pass the border, and I was like, but you know, what's the problem? And we found out they had diplomatic passports because the Turkish government issues diplomatic passports to their highest cultural representatives. And because Armenia has no diplomatic ties with Turkey, it was a problem to take these Turkish musicians inside the country. So 2 of them crossed the border, 2 of them were left there for 4 hours, until the American embassy contacted the foreign ministry in Armenia, and they got special papers from the government to cross the border, and then they had to fill out a lot of forms the next day.
Just a final bit.
Yes.
So, actually, the US embassy was a real good lever, or the really good go-between for all the countries.
It was, yes, sorry. The main problem for me, I wasn't scared of anything to start this project, but I didn't have any funds. As you can see, there's a lot of money spent in 2 countries, and I mean, if you just count the price of the filmings we've done for a month, every day, all the camera operators, all the light engineers, only that part. I'm not talking about all the recording, all the travel costs, all the hotel costs. I couldn't have done it with my own budget, so I was so happy that the cultural side of American Embassy agreed with me to, go ahead and, fund this project. Yeah.
What about the British Council? Did they contribute?
They don't have a cultural section, unfortunately.
British Council doesn't?
No, I thought you meant the embassy. I haven't approached the council.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Rita and then project.
Yeah.
It was an excellent project.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I think I find a little bit less talking and interviewing and maybe a little bit more of the concert. You have done Giligya, that was excellent. But little more Turkish people singing or you singing or something. It came too, you know, listening the interviews one after the other, especially when this is my...
I totally agree with you. I'm a musician. I wish I could just put the concert there.
The other thing, I don't know if you heard yesterday, I was listening to Armenian television.
Yes.
And what Aliyev said, try to find another place for Armenia.
Yeah.
This is not approaching or, you know, so the answer was excellent. He was very clever, our president, and he said from the Grand Medzijama,
exactly, yes.
all this,
yeah.
It was excellent answer, he couldn't answer. But, you know, sometimes we take too much for granted, still what they are, still they have in their mind. Try to find another place for Armenia? What does that mean?
Well, the best review I read about yesterday's press conference was that some guy on Facebook wrote that the problem was that the new Armenia was negotiating with old Azerbaijan. Because Azerbaijan is in a situation, I mean, people don't even like their leader there. It's corruption and, you know, if there is a real election there, he'll probably not collect over 20% of the votes.
I have my best friends, some people they know, or few best friends, they are Turkish people.
Yes.
But once in a while, we have to stand our ground.
Yes.
Once in a while, because suddenly we are giving them too smooth, you know, very well. We are very happy, everything is going perfect, but when they come to they know what to say to us, and we have to know what to say to them.
Of course, yes. We will leave that to hopefully good politicians.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your...
Well done, Sandra. It was really very informative. Well done.
Thank you.
I know it's not easy something like this, especially the Armenian part. My question is, nowadays there is lots of fusion music from other cultures. People, they bring their own instruments, like the oud, the saz, the canon. You can have in Arabic countries directly, or it's Mediterranean.
Yeah.
Now, I always wonder, what we say typical Turkish music, because we have Yeoban, Koçari, Damzara, we got these cultures, traditional music. I always wonder what is the Turkish music? I don't know, maybe it's irrelevant, my question.
No, it's a very difficult one.
It was interesting.
Yes.
But because Turkish for me sounds like Arabic, Greek, sometimes Armenian. So, do they have something traditional music like Damzara? Do they have something like Yeoban, Koçari? Do they have something like that?
Because Turkey is a mixture of so many cultures, you can hear so many influences there. Iranian influences, Greek influences, and even in this song there is African percussion instrument, and he actually played African rhythm on it. So the only Turkish music that comes to my mind that's pure Turkish, I would probably say the dance, you know, the Sema dance where they go in circles. The music they play to that is, for me, that's what I consider Turkish music. But I just love the instrumentation, and I've always loved how Turkish musicians use Western classical music instruments and turn it into their own type of melodies and their own scales, basically.
Under George, so should you want to just play this? Can we just play this for a second? And then come
Yes,
to
yes,
yeah,
sorry.
Andre wanted this to show us.
That was an excellent documentary, really fantastic. Good studies as well and good knowledge for me at least. But what made you to approach the US Embassy, the cultural department, to get involved in this program? In a way, I think was the information I got from the documentary. Their presence made it slightly easier for the group, you know, to get to Turkey and to get to Armenia and organize the concerts and the various programs. What made you approach the US Embassy for this project?
When we released our third album with Beautified project, which is my band, we won a national award for being the best rock band in Armenia. And then I was invited by Department of State in America, along with 23 other countries, for a cultural exchange program in America. So we toured 5 states in America. We were from 24 different countries. And it was all about dialogue through culture. So when I returned to Armenia, and I had this project in my mind for years and years, because I knew I needed big funding for this. When I wrote a report of how it went in America, they contacted me, they said, you know, we loved your report. If you want to suggest any projects that we might find interesting, we might be able to help you. So I wrote a proposal, and I'm not sure about initiatives, but we were on the same page about goals of, you know, creating a dialogue between 2 countries, and because of them it was possible to do this.
Are there any plans to have a concert in London, the Dogan Hall or South Bank? They always have very different groups from different parts of the world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not just America or France or
Yeah.
very alternative cultural music they often have.
It's all about sponsors. I mean, I'm trying to bring 2-3 musicians from my band, and it's very difficult to find sponsors in such a small community. For this kind of concert, we need to bring 8 musicians and 2 sound engineers, and then hire a place, a big venue, and hire hotel rooms. So I've calculated it's about £15,000 project. If we have the funding, all the musicians are ready and available to do such a thing. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I was expecting you to say about 50, 60, 70,000 pounds.
No, this is just us playing without any, you know, profit.
I think that's a very modest.
Yeah, a few years ago, after some sporting events, which later became to be known as the football diplomacy,
Yes.
we ended up with protocols. My question is not about the kind of the protocol. Do you think this, well, at that time, later it was apparent that the US Vice President, Mrs. Clinton, was directly involved with those protocols. Do you think now this could end up with a new set of protocols and a new set of political dialogue, whether we would like that process or not?
Yeah.
Especially now that US Embassy is involved.
Yeah. The difference is I was a big supporter of that initiative, and I was in that football match, and it's in his 10 years of presidency, it's probably the one thing that I've liked that he's done. Serge Sarkisyan, I think it was Gül, the Turkish president, who came to, the difference is that there were politicians trying to communicate. This is people-to-people dialogue. And I think if people-to-people dialogue works, then it can convince the politicians to find better ways of dialogue. But that was a politician-to-politician dialogue, and it didn't work as most people were expecting. So this is a different initiative, and I think if the day comes when the higher politicians know that the people are ready for political dialogue, then they will find it easier to do that. Because right now, politicians think if we start a dialogue and if it doesn't work, are we going to get the votes that we need to stay in power? And, you know, that's a concern for any politician. I hope that answered your question.
Okay, as far as funding is concerned, I wish I had time to help you with that, but there are funds. I know that in the European Commission and even in the Arts Council, there are funds for such initiatives where they bring different people together. But it's maybe something that you have to sit down and talk one day. Final question or comment?
Great concept, as usual, great project followed through, fantastic music as ever.
Thank you so much.
Good film. First question, is the whole of the concert available? If interviewing anywhere?
The whole concert has been filmed with 8 cameras, but my funding, my money, finished before I edited and mixed the sound. Because mixing each song, which consists of 8 different instruments, is about $300–400 per song, and then editing it is another $300–400. So imagine if we mix and edit the whole concert, it will be, it's all about calculations today. It'll cost me about 5–6 grand to basically have it.
One day.
Yeah, one day hopefully, yeah.
The Beautified project, actually, you'll deserve millions. My real question is about the intensity of the animosity. I'm going to ask about that, then it came up and you mentioned about the death threats, which didn't surprise me. I just wonder whether that animosity has continued so long that it's taken almost 4 years before this has come to public vision and discussion.
Basically, I want to put this on YouTube.
You might not want to talk about
Yes.
it,
To be honest with you, one other reason I didn't put it online. Once you put it online, you can't really apply to take part in any film festivals because it's already been viewed by the public. So then I uploaded it on my private channel and I was sending links to people. It was like a hidden link that people couldn't see, if only people who had the link could watch it. But I think maybe the time has come to do it. And about the death threats, I told my bandmates, if they shoot me, that's easy. I just don't want any eggs thrown at me. Because that would have been